And we're live. A bit later than usual, but as you can see already, back in winter survival mode already. I've got my nice orange coat on, got my nice little cap on, because as you can see, the skies are clouded over. Oh, morning, Carol. Good morning to you. Oh, good morning to you from Ryan. Good morning. Like I say, as you can see, the skies are clouded over. Oh, Catholic, good morning to you. The skies are crowded over. The weather is cold, and of course, you know what that means. It's a typical Yorkshire morning, just the way we like. By gum, lads and lasses. Oh, it's cracking. Joe from Dublin, good morning to you. Crowban early start. Well, it's actually a bit later than normal, but you know, I tried to start at 8. Like I say, this might be going back to the as it is normal during winter. You know, when we were meant to again start at 8, like I say, I've said it before in the morning, it's shall we say easier to get up in the morning during the spring and summer periods, shall we say. But yeah, so but yes, good morning from Denmark to Kettle P, Mitch from Texas, good morning to you. And good morning from Henk. Good morning from the land of the wooden shoes. Just watch out for termites. Kwazafak, good morning from the Netherlands, good morning to you. I can say good morning. Good morning. Like I say, as you can see from last week, well, there wasn't a cloud in the sky, as they say in Scotland. Not the case today. Like I say, winter has come with a vengeance. Oh, Ben Ridings, good morning to you. Another madcap week in politics. Well, yeah, it certainly has. I mean, the most important thing that happened this week was, of course, the grilling that Dominic Raab had, which we went over on Wednesday. Still hasn't resigned, by the way. I was expecting the backbenchers to really put pressure on Raab to resign, but that hasn't happened. And even the papers haven't turned on Raab. So I think we can pretty much say that Raab's going to stay. Unless, again, like I did with Matt Hancock that time, saying that, oh yeah, he's good. Looks like he's going to stay now. And then literally, I think it was an hour after I did my good morning walk, he announced his resignation and that he was leaving the cabinet. So Raab could pull a Hancock there on me and just up and decide to leave, which would always be fun. Anyway, Alexander, good evening to you. Yeah, true. Being a Tory minister means you never have to resign. That is true. That is very, very true. Although I have to say, at least with the clouds being over today, we don't have the problem like I did last week, where the sun is literally in my face and I can't read the screen, which is a good thing today. So, the only thing is today I can feel my as you all know, I pretty much through the entire winter saying I need to get a pair of fingerless gloves, and I never did. And now I need to do. So what's the crack? If Boris is firing people, then that's not going to be long before he calls for Boris to go. True. Like I say, Boris and that cabinet were chosen for a reason. And as I've said before with Matt Hancock when he left, I think the only reason Matt Hancock left was because he realised he was going to be made the scapegoat of like the coronavirus. So yeah, and of course, yes, you are right, crowd ban. We have gone from now saying, oh yes, all these Afghanistan people should be allowed to come here, to the papers literally turning on a dime, literally turning on a dime, to them now saying that, oh yes, we're seeing basically what happened to Bosnia. This is what happened to Bosnia. The papers are all like, oh my god, this Bosnian crisis is terrible. We've got to let, these people come here, as refugees so they can stay. And then, of course, when they started turning up, the papers just turned on them, saying, how dare we, take in all these refugees. They're not going to integrate properly, etc., etc. And like I say, most of these people, of course, let's not say that it was different, because, as we said before, most refugees, depending on the country, of course, like I say, Afghanistan, definitely different situation. There's obviously no reason that these people are going to return, because it does look like the Taliban are definitely in power and there to stay. So yeah, very, very interesting. Although I did say this for this week, there was an interesting survey that came out this week about towns that have decided to accept refugees as to where they're being sent and where they're not being sent. And you won't be surprised to find out that most of the refugees are being sent to Labour seats. And of course, in the north, where, shall we say, a lot of, shall we say, new Conservatives currently sit, they haven't accepted any of the Afghanistan refugees, which basically means that I think in a couple of days' time, potentially, Barnsley, my own town, is going to basically have to accept a lot of Afghanistan refugees, because, should we say, the surrounding areas are, well, run by Tory MPs now. And of course, how, shall we say, the Tories feel about immigration. And of course, you've only got to go back a few weeks ago to see, what was it, Priti Patel's remark about how giving asylum to these people would send out a bad signal about this. Yeah, of course, this is the new form of racism now. It's, we're not going to use the traditional, form of racism. We're going to use like the slick and polished way of racism. We're going to do the Nigel Farage way of racism, which was always to be very upper and middle class about it, and say it in a roundabout way what we say, which is, again, a very typical, shall we say, attitude to British racism when it comes to it. So expect, at least I'd say, for the next couple of weeks, definitely to see start numerous newspaper articles, to which someone just posted the comment there, I didn't see your name, about the fact that these refugees needed to be, quote, westernized. So expect to start seeing that talking point shopped around, shall we say, the news and, shall we say, most right-wing politicians in the country soon. But of course, talking about Rab, good old Dominic Raab, of course, he had his absolute grilling on Wednesday before the Foreign Select Committee. And rightly, he got absolutely curb stomped. It appears that he basically turned up to the meeting having done absolutely no preparation whatsoever. Couldn't even answer basic questions. A report from his own department about the situation on Afghanistan, he didn't even seem to have read. You know, this shows the entire ridiculousness of, well, straight up, not only the whole, shall we say, Afghanistan adventure as a whole, but also the idea, of course, of global Britain. Blows it completely out of water. And of course, this is what the Brexiteers were heavily relying on to sell Brexit. And like I say, if you saw the little post that I posted this week on YouTube about Biden saying that he will not be forgetting the UK's criticism of the Afghanistan war, well, that just goes to show you how well, shall we say, the special relationship is going, and, well, looks like we're not getting that trade deal anytime soon. So, why isn't Rab going to go? Well, ultimately, like I say, if you do put Rab, shall we say, out of action, the big question is as always, who replaces him? Does Boris shuffle his cabinet so that, shall we say, one of the other, shall we say, loyal nodding dogs ends up in obviously the Deputy Prime Minister position, which, let's not forget, is quite a powerful position to be in. So it will be, shall we say, quite a coveted position by many Tories. One man and his two dogs in the field at the moment. Hold on, let me show you this. There we go. Yeah, so one man and his two dogs out there in the field. And of course the cows are over there as well. He's doing his best. He's doing his best. Oh, hang on, my finger's in the way there. There we go. Yeah, it's going to be... because it's quite, and again, being obviously the Deputy Prime Minister is quite an important position. It will be practically the symbolic gesture, shall we say, as to who Boris's successor might be. And then, of course, the other question is, who do you bring into the cabinet? What happened to my video? Oh, well, we'll get onto that in a moment. So one of the big problems definitely will be, of course, if Rab does goes, is who does Boris bring into the cabinet? Who takes Rab's position? And how does that then affect the incredibly chaotic power dynamic that is currently going on in Boris Johnson's cabinet? Because we know it's incredibly chaotic in there. We'll have to see. Because Rab definitely has, shall we say, ambitions to try and be at the top of the greasy pole, just as Boris did as well. Whether he will get it or not, we don't know. But yes, comments to as my video, unfortunately. As most of you know, YouTube is incredibly zealous, shall we say, about even, shall we say, talking about COVID-19. I did a video yesterday about the alliance that is forming between the anti-vaxxers and the far right, not only just here in the UK, but around the world. And it's becoming incredibly worrying because I'm sure many of you may or may not have seen, Daily Mail reporters infiltrated a Telegram chat where essentially called Veterans for Freedom, where something about 200 plus veterans were basically fantasizing about attacking vaccination centers. And for some reason, YouTube seems to think that I've broken their guidelines talking about medical misinformation when I do not even talk about the medical misinformation in that video. So I appealed it like I had one, a couple of months back, which again went through. This time they've decided to uphold the appeal, which is incredibly annoying because, as I explained to them in the appeal, there is nowhere in the video where I talk about medical misinformation. So since they've decided to withhold it, I'm going to have to go to the YouTube union, FairTube, and we're going to have to see if we can get them on the case. So it's just so annoying when you want to talk about something that's newsworthy and then that happens and it's like so frustrating. But again, this is why lots of YouTubers, including myself, always say, while it's excellent that you support us through YouTube and of course watch the videos, if you do want to support the videos, Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee are better ways to support YouTubers than actual YouTube itself, which is ultimately annoying, I know, but there you go. But yeah, like I say, I think FairTube will sort it out. They're very good at, shall we say, what they do. So I will be getting, the guys at FairTube over on it. So, as always, let's get back to something more positive. Oh yeah, also the Pony Club. Yeah. If you do want to support me on through YouTube by what is actually quite an easy way, and like I say, you do get some fun emojis. Then yes, do support me at the Pony Club as well. And like I say, unfortunately, no No ponies so far this morning. At least certainly not in the first field. Although you did get to see the cows very briefly. But yes, more, shall we say, fitting topic, because as you say, the name of the video is, politics is boring, but it is so important. Any word on the Jeff emoji? Yes, I will be talking next week with my artist connection to see if we can't get some of those drawn up for you. So like I say, as always, I will let you know when they are coming and when they're there. So I just need to get them drawn up first. Don't know if you can see them there, Dalmatians. So, politics. I do agree with a lot of people that politics can sometimes be this really bizarre soap opera sometimes, and especially even more so because I know that on chat here right now I've got a lot of other people from different countries who say tuning in weekly to the soap opera that is the current chaos of the UK government. And bear in mind, of course, it's probably the chaos that is definitely making it a lot of fun for you guys over overseas to watch. I get it. I get it. But my main thing has always been on this channel. My main thing on the channel has always been, especially for people in the UK and even abroad, this goes for, I think, politics regardless of where you live. You have to be engaged. You have to really take engagement to heart. And if you don't, pantomime performance going on in the chat, always good to see. And you have to get involved, not only just like at a national level during obviously like national campaigns for like general elections, but you should also get involved in your local party as well. Because especially in Labour, since, Corbyn technically, stepped down, I suppose, a lot of the youth and energy that he attracted to Labour has gone from very much being at the national level to a local level. Indeed, in Barnsley, we saw a lot of very, very young councillors elected for the first time. In fact, most of the new councillors that got elected this time were actually below the age of 30. So that's quite impressive and shows you the level of engagement that there is among young people. But as you very well may know, this is where we come to talk about a lot of goings on in Labour at the moment. As you well may know, or may not know, the Labour Party is in a bit of a crisis, shall we say. I think it's trying to, I don't know, fight, I'd say, once again for its soul. We've had the right of Labour become very much resurgent to trying to, shall we say, bring back the Blair years. And of course, a lot of people say, oh, well, these, right-wing Labour people, they're practically just, centrist conservatives. And to a point, you are right. But originally, they weren't at that point. They described them, if you were to ask them to describe themselves, they would describe themselves as very much left centrists. And yes, I am aware of the meme on the internet of the centrist, but in the UK, being a centrist is very much a thing. And like I say, it's a political position. As we've said before, when it comes to general elections in the UK, literally about there's 25% associate with the right, 25% associate with the left, and you've got a huge block of about 35% people in the UK would associate themselves with being a centrist. So the fight comes at every general election to how many of that percent you can grab from that centrist pool. Because, as you may very well know, to win the majority in the UK Parliament, to lead, Labour needs at least 40%. So it needs to appeal to that centrist base. Now, I've often said that, look, a lot of left policies are quite popular among the centrists. It's just that there are a lot of other people who don't feel that way. And I know, I understand, but I've said this, I don't know how many times before. If Labour want to win, or shall we say, even if the left want to get in power in this country, it's going to be through Labour. We have to, it has to be through Labour. And yeah, sometimes you're not going to 100% like, the direction the party is going in, which is leading to currently a funding crisis of people, quote, leaving Labour. But, oh, hello from Siberia. Hello to you. Well, you've joined us at a very crucial moment because we have some ponies. Ta-da. Hang on. Can we sit down? Yeah, we can. There we go. So, yeah. I do promise you ponies. Here we are. And the thing is, if you aren't, this leads to my other thing that I always say, because you always know, after I have said the only way the left can be in power is via the Labour Party, what do I always say next? You can get more done in the Labour Party if you are a member and you have a foot in the door than you have if you have both feet outside. That is literally the case. That is what I've been saying for a while now. And dudes just brought up, what about electoral reform? Well, if we want electoral reform, this is where my hat gets stolen. you know, Labour has to. Oh, he's eating my hat. You know, Labour has Labour has to Labour has to win under the first past the post system. That's not he's having a smile. Hang on, I'm going to be mobbed in a moment. Let me stand back up. Oh, there we go. There we go, because I'm going to be mobbed in a moment. So, I'll go again. They're all in a mess. They're all in a mess again. They've all got prickly things stuck in their hair, in the hooves. It's like, you don't know what they're gonna. You don't know what they're gonna do. But yeah, as always, a very, very interesting time in the Labour Party for that. Sorry, I've forgotten where I was now. About to be eaten by horses. Yeah, what most of them, of course, end up doing, of course, is you've seen a lot of the right really try and push out a lot of the left. And this is a point where I'm going to echo what Tony Blair's had to say, that the Labour does actually need the left. And, you know, Tony Blair did a lot of good left-wing policies. He brought in minimum wage. He sent more working class kids to university than ever before. Like I say, obviously the big thing about Blair was, of course, the Afghanistan and Iraq wars that a lot of people are really hot upon him against, which I know is the main criticism of Blair, of course. But Blair did a lot of, you know, good things. And of course, mostly because of the Overton window, Blair went from being very, from being left-wing to becoming a lot more right-wing, or should we say perceived as being right-wing. Because what happened was, when Tony Blair pretty much dominated politics, the Conservatives had themselves another, shall we say, soul-searching moment. They lost election after election, and it wasn't until David Cameron came along and, shall we say, tried to clean the image of the Tory party up. But now, because of Boris, they've gone back to exactly what they were before David Cameron. And I think the big question you have to ask would have been, had it not been for, of course, Boris Johnson, who would have led the party, and would have they done as well at that general election? Hang on, I've just realised there's been a super chat and I haven't read it. So this is from Yumiko. The party must play by the rules of the system. If the system is first past the post, the media is biased and the people are angry. I see no way to fix it from inside Labour. The only way to fix the party is indeed from inside Labour, because if you do not have a political foothold, how can you affect politics? You know, if you've got no MPs on your side, how can you get your policies through? And like I say, if the left does want to be in power, the only way it does that is through Labour. The only way we can change the electoral system is if we win under a first past the post system, to then change it to something of proportional representation. Of course, I think that we need to change that. Revolution, no. Revolution will never, ever get to that point here in the UK. Trudis Carwell. Don't agree with you on Blair. Under him, the Socialist left were purged from Labour to make more appealing to the centre. Again, but they didn't leave completely. All they did was that they threw their toys out with a pram and basically refused to work with Blair because he didn't want to be socialist enough for them. Because as I've said before, in the UK, at any general election, to win, you have to be able to take the votes from the centre ground. You cannot win in a UK election that is first past the post, where 35% of people will say that they are at least centrist, not on the left or the right. And I know on the internet, being like a centrist is like a bit of a meme thing, but no, that is the case in the UK. So to be able to win, either side has to at least be able to get at least 40%, or else you just can't win. And I know I would love to see more socialist policies, but I'll tell you what I would love to do. All the people on, all the people on the left who are complaining about leaving and whatnot should get together again, rejoin Labour, and start to think about what policies they want to see. Because a lot of these people want to go from like naught to socialist in like 60 seconds. And that's not possible. And don't get me wrong, I would love to live in like a socialist UK. You know, that's the goal. That is ultimately the goal. But you have to get people to realize the fact that this socialism thing that we talk about actually isn't that bad, and it can actually be a good thing. So start slowly. Don't go for like the immediate, bandwagon push. First of all, get Labour to win, get them to change the voting system, and then shockingly enough, because at that moment, the second you change the voting system from that to a third to which will allow, again, other parties and smaller parties to have a bigger, shall we say, representative say, then at that moment, you can then split off from the Labour Party, form your own, call it, Socialist Party, or like Socialist Labour, or Labour Socialist Party, whatever you want to call it. Then, at any general election after that, you can almost be the kingmaker, the good old song, Time Waits for Nobody. True, but doing these things and turning the UK into a socialist country is going to take time. And we have to be able to build systems where the Conservatives can't come along and dismantle them. Because think about this. If, let's say, for example, Jeremy Corbyn got in and he made, all these, he renationalized, like water, electricity, did all his stuff. But then here comes the problem. What then happens if a Conservative government immediately after his like first 5 years, were to retake power, they would immediately undo every single thing that he did to move it back. You know, in the 1940s, when Harold Wilson became the first Labour Prime Minister and created the NHS and did a lot of, again, very socialist things, who won the next election? It wasn't Labour, it was the Conservatives. And slowly over time, they tried to erode all the systems that Wilson built up to try and de-socialize the country again. And that was because Wilson built systems to last. And unless, especially the left and the socialists, actually realize that even if they did somehow manage to win, let's indulge in these fantasies that they have for a second. Let's say that they succeed in somehow and manage to convince Jeremy Corbyn to start his own political party, Socialist Party, and somehow at the next election, he manages to storm into victory. You know, congratulations, guys, you've won somehow. And again, a third party under a first past the post system, gaining any sort of traction is impossible. It takes decades. Like I say, the Greens have been around for years, and not only have they never managed to turn their local election success into a national success, but they've only ever had one MP for, I believe, the total of about 15 years, of 20 years, I think it is. Caroline Lucas has been an MP at this point. But anyway, again, let's just say indulge in their little fantasies for a second. Let's say they sweep into victory. And like I say, they manage to turn the UK into a socialist utopia. What happens next if the Conservatives win and then undo every single thing that the Corbyn party, as we'll call it, did? Because that could happen. That is legitimately what could happen. We have to build systems that cannot be destroyed if we lose an election. And trust me, the Conservatives are definitely going to give it a damned good go. A damned good go. I mean, this is one of the things that I actually want to talk about today. In America, you see in Texas, the absolutely horrific abortion mandate that's gone in. Not only that, but I think there's another case in, again, somewhere down south in one of the southern countries that is again going to challenge Roe v. Wade on a Supreme Court that is dominated by Conservatives now, by, 5-3? And again, a lot of people in the UK want a single-payer healthcare system. And again, the campaign for that has been gathering speed, slowly but surely. 6-3, that's it. Has been gathering pace, slowly but surely, over time. Now, imagine for a second, again, in this fantasy world, let's say Bernie Sanders gets in and manages to pass his, single-payer healthcare bill. Everyone gets, it's a one-payer system, as we have like in the UK. The second that happens, a challenge will go from pretty much all the right-wing groups, all the insurance companies, straight to the Supreme Court to say that that is unconstitutional. And they will win because of the Conservative majority. So in America, there is now has to be a push to either A, wait until you can flip the conservative majority in your favor, which is going to take a very, very long time. Or you could expand the Supreme Court by putting more liberal judges on there, which is definitely a situation you could do. Or you change the role of the Supreme Court. Like, I don't know, you make it so that they're electable, or at least they have, rather than it be a lifetime appointment, it's like 10 years or something like that. So again, you change the power dynamic of the Supreme Court. And it's the same here in the UK. Of if we did and passed our socialist utopia, which again, I want to move to. I want to move the country towards that direction. But you have to be able to, shall we say, sometimes, as they say, boil the frog. You can't go from naught to socialist in 60 seconds. And I'm just interested because obviously Mitch is from Texas here. Oh yeah, talking about the the bogus tip line. Yeah, and like I say, that's going to be very interesting to watch in the next couple of days about how the Supreme Court react to this bill. And like I say, there is another case going on in, I want to say, Louisiana, or might be Utah, but again, it's another important case that could very well much essentially just erode Roe v. Wade. And the thing is, if that Texas law succeeds, then pretty much every single other state is going to roll that out into their laws, and essentially abortion will be banned. You know, you won't be able to do it because of how that law works. Because if one of these tips, for examples, gets linked to an abortion provider, then under that bill's law, that provider is immediately shut down. So systematically, and again, in a place like Texas, and I mean, I'm sure Mitch will fill us in, but I think there's only about like 4 or 5, might be even less than that, providers in the whole of Texas itself that can actually provide abortions. I mean, it's already, you say, oh, thank you very much, Chiggly Wiggly. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. So it's, you know, it becomes very worrying. But again, it's all about how, oh, Jesus Cantwell, thank you very much for the support there. A centre-left government that you say can only take power wouldn't be able to make the kind of systemic change the Wilson government did, radical for the time. Indeed, they were very radical for the time. And how much of that Wilson government is actually left? What is Wilson's legacy still today? It was because they built systems that cannot be very easily dismantled over time. But the Conservatives have definitely given it a good go over the many years. Like I say, in terms of like Wilson's housing program, that's now non-existent. You know, the only thing really that sort of Wilson had left, really, if you think about it, is national insurance, the NHS, social safety net, which again, universal credit, And given how bad that is now, you can arguably say that Wilson's legacy has been pretty much tarnished and destroyed at that moment. But it's again, yeah. So yeah, again, Mitch is right here for the thing. The judge in Lamar County, there's only like one judge that's refused to uphold it, but that's like one in like 250 counties. So, but where does this actually come from? This comes from the fact that you got a load of leftists who didn't like Hillary Clinton, but refused to see the bigger picture of the fact that you had a seat open, effectively, because Obama stupidly bent the knee to the Republicans on this. And then you also had two judges who both had cancer and had been through cancer treatment twice. They did not have long left to live. So Trump, I think, is like the first president in a long, long time to appoint 3 judges, if I remember. Yeah, a long, long time. Attlee, that's it. Yeah, I'm getting confused with Wilson Attlee. Yeah. So Attlee's legacy, again, over the years has been systematically torn to shreds. Now, the reason why not everything got annihilated. Oh, we've got some more ponies for you. He's attempting to have a bite. So there are at least, a number of things for, if the left ever gets into power, that needs to consider. Nope. I don't know why he's bullying that little one. He's following me. But yeah, the left really needs to consider the systems in play for what is here. And I know I am probably going to be like very unpopular with a lot of lefties here, but sometimes you have to work with with your, shall we say, left centrist brothers in order to get things done, because you are both on the left. You have things in common. We have policies that we can both agree on. We have those policies that we can agree on. And I think it's a matter of getting it done. And sometimes there is a big question to be raised of, is something too radical at the moment to be pushed? Do we need to, shall we say, introduce it more slowly? But it's all about building up those systems. Like I say, as someone said, Attlee at the time, in the comment, was again very radical for his time, but that was because of essentially the situation surrounding, of course, the First and the Second World War, where again a lot of social progress in this country happened because of those two wars. And it was because of that pressure, even before the Second World War, around the the changing nature of, again, the UK socially at the time, that allowed Attlee to get in. But immediately, remember, after, he lost the next election to the Conservatives. So we've got to think and understand that even if we might win one time, we could lose an election and the Conservatives could basically dismantle everything over like a 5-year period. That's something that we need to worry about. Hence why I keep on saying politics is a very important. It might be a bit boring, but look at the situation in Texas where the left and progressives started saying that they would not vote for Hillary at the national election. And what happened? Donald Trump came in and got to appoint essentially 3 conservative judges to the Supreme Court, over which, even if you got your ideal candidate, like a Bernie Sanders candidate who passed universal health care, there would be a challenge and it would be ruled unconstitutional. Like, that is the case that we are sitting and seeing in America. And it's sort of a very, very similar case here in the UK. The people on the left and the people who are in, on Starmer's side need to put aside their aminosity. Can't even say it. Their aminosity. I can't say it. Their grievances with Starmer's camp, because the next general election here in the UK is going to be roughly about 3 years away, which is not going to be long. And it should be about defeating the Conservatives and putting in a damn sight better government than the Conservatives. And even under Starmer, we could get some good leftist policies in. Like Starmer's talks about, the fair wages for a fair work. Well, okay, we have ideas for that. We know that one of the ways you can do that is to re-expand union protections and re-expand unions, which Margaret Thatcher took away back in the 80s. So we know that can be good. And in Germany, we can expand it even further. Why not make sure that on any company that has like a board of directors, make sure that there is a union representative? The other thing that I've said that the left should really push is anti-corruption laws. We've got a situation where the anti-corruption czar is trying to smear the Good Law Project for essentially uncovering corruption. This is literally the situation that we're in. Like I say, politics might be boring, but it's damn important, and you've got to make sure that you are engaged and at least assuring what's going on. And sometimes that does mean making alliances with other people who are technically on. This is why the right wins a lot of elections, because just like on the left, there are different people on the right with different ideas, different ideologies, but when it comes to election times, an election time, they put aside all of their animosity, they put aside all their differences, and they vote for the right-wing candidate. The left don't do that. The left will literally not vote for a candidate because they might have said something at some point which might be perceived as a positive endorsement of capitalism, even though this guy is a left-wing candidate and would ultimately be better than the right-wing candidate. So we've got to get rid, and we've got to get the left, not just here in the UK, but everywhere, to understand when it comes to an election time, you have to get behind the left-wing candidate, even if you don't fully 100% agree. But that's democracy. You are never, ever going to have a candidate that you 100% agree with. I never 100% agreed with Corbyn, but I definitely agreed with most of his policies that he had. So I was always going to like vote for, you know, his candidate in his party. The left can only care about his identity, nothing else. That's wrong. I can tell you that from a left-wing perspective. I care about the economics. I care about the social care here in our country. I care about the fact that there is a terrible infrastructure here in this country and that we need to desperately and drastically rebuild it. You know, I care about the working class here in this country who are getting completely shafted. So I've just proved your point wrong. Again, I'm on the left. I care about other things than identity. But again, identity is pretty important. Trans people should have the exact same rights as anyone else in this country. It's a pretty easy statement to say, you know? But anyway, yes, we're coming to the end of the Good Morning Walk today. Welcome, as always, to... Thank you very much to all the people who have joined us today. For this fantastic Good Morning Walk, as always. Like I say, on... I'm not left, right? That's a good one. You might want to have heard the fact that I want socialism. Please don't be a tanky. Am I going to have a tanky arc myself? Catho G, thank you very much for the support there. Thank you very much. But as always, thank you very much for joining us always. Like I say, on Wednesday, there's going to be another live stream. I'm talking with Max at the moment. So we might be able to do a live stream together. We might be doing the, should we say, old UKIP videos again, which is always going to be fun. As always, thank you very much for joining us. Please do hit that that like button on your way out, and hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Like I say, it's always fantastic. Have an absolutely cracking weekend, as always. If you can't be safe, be sensible at least. I'll leave you with a bit of... there we go. Leave you with a bit of ponies. I don't know what time a live stream is going to be with Max. Like I say, hang on, there we go. It's just in the works at the moment, so we'll have to see. But I will let you know. Don't worry. Like I say, down below there is a links to my Patreon and the one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can help support the channel. And as always, thank you very much for watching. And we'll see you all next Saturday for another Good Morning Walk.